Hey everyone, this is Meyer, and what I want to do in this video is give a walkthrough of the project of my latest track, Chosen, which is out now on Extrema Music. This is a track I'm super proud of. I really like the main melody. Been working on this for a long time. So what I want to do in this video is kind of give a short overview, show some of the sounds I was using, how I did some things. And if you want to go ahead and support me or support this channel, I'll provide a link in the description where you can go pick it up on Beatport. Right now it is currently rising the main floor trance charts there on Beatport. I think on the hype chart it's like it's in the 20s right now. So hopefully we can get it up there a little bit more. But either way, hopefully you learned something and you'll find something cool. Now, the thing that I really want to talk about here is the main melody. This is where I spent a lot of time. And this was a project in which I really kind of decided on what my sound is, what some of my signature sounds are. So let me just go ahead and play this part right before the melody comes in. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is go through the leads. So what I've done here is very, very standard. I have a standard lead bus. One thing to note here is I have this low cut filter that I'm automating. I've kind of changed the way that I've done this since I did this project. I've been working on this project for a long time. Pretty standard stuff, SSL compressor, going into an Arts acoustic reverb, going into another SSL compressor to sort of compress the sound with the reverb together. You can see when all the leads are playing here. Oops. It's that second compressor that's doing a lot of work to push the sound together. And this reverb is really, really, really what is doing it. If I didn't have it on, I mean, you got to have it, right? So let me go through each of these leads. I'll just kind of solo them. I've frozen most of these because my computer could not handle. I mean, I really went overboard here with this. But the main lead here, this is a Spire sound. I guess I just made this from scratch. Let me hear what this sounds like. Kind of ugly on its own, but it works. This sound is the Airport sound. This is, I think, based on Airport 2.0 from one of the Darren Porter and Sean Tyas banks. Only playing those upper notes. Then I got this buzzer sound. I think this is in Dune. No, this is just another Spire. I believe this is a sound from Reorder's fourth bank. It's either his first or his fourth bank, the Lonely for You sound. And notice it's just really moving around. There's a lot of pitch modulation. It really helps when these are stacked together. On its own, it's like, oh gosh, there's a lot going on. But in context, so really that's doing a lot of the work on the top end. Really, each of these leads should be adding something, and that's what I was planning on doing. This is the legendary saw in Spire. This is from Reorder's Serum Producer Special. Really, really nice lead. This one is also playing these lower notes. And then this is a Diva sound. That's an emulation of the JP8080 or 8000. So those are going into a bus. Those are all the leads. But on top of them are these plucks. I have several. This first one is this kind of a reordery type of pluck. And then this is kind of my signature style pluck, which, you know, really, spoilers, it's pretty much a saw pluck with a bit crusher on it and some sample rate reduction. But these two together And then when the drop comes in, I add two more plucks. The first is this saw pluck. And then this kind of counter melody pluck, which is kind of the same thing, just an octave lower. So these are pretty much all spire. So these are the plucks together. And then we have this guy. Just this top, really top end lead. Now, one thing I did is I took my pluck 2, or this sort of this Meyer pluck here, and really went crazy with the distortion, and I rendered this to audio. And one of the things I did with this is I used this to sort of duck out the leads. If you look here in this lead group, there's a bunch of stuff going on, but this Neutron 4 unmask, I took these counter melodies and used them to kind of duck whenever this is playing. It's very subtle, but it does a lot. Let me play it here. Oops. Actually, it'll be better if you hear it when everything's open. So it'll be right here. And it's just kind of doing this counter melody stuff. You can see whenever that comes in, the counter comes in, it ducks everything else, which is really cool. Let me just solo this so you can hear this sort of counter-y piece. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. Here it is. And at certain times I automate the reverb on this, but hopefully what you can see is as this plays, I want this to be loud enough, but I want it to come on top of the leads. I want it to overpower the leads because it only occasionally comes in. And here you can hear it duck. Let me play it again. So of course, all of these are going to need their own automation, automating the filter, a huge pain in the ass, but it's just something you got to do. That's how you get the big, filter openings up here for that particular part. Then the drop comes in. Pretty cool. The next thing I want to do is kind of talk, I'm going to go a little bit out of order here, talk a little bit about the breakdown. Now, the main melody here, this was written in, I kind of did it in F Lydian. I have a masterclass where I talk about these chord progressions, and I'll have another one on writing melodies and trance, on how I built this melody and other similar ones, how you can do that. So keep an eye out for that. I'm really excited to bring that along with the MIDI pack. But this breakdown is where I really developed the melody. So we start, I have this like just water and birds and shit going on, which is kind of cool, just there in the background. And these pianos, I think this is just true pianos. Yeah, old school style. I need to even like re-register this. And then these pads. And I have both a choir and strings from Omnisphere, I believe. Yeah. So that sub pad underneath everything. This Nexus, this is the one the Airwave Trance saw, is really, really nice pad. You can kind of hear it. And then this was the first pad. Really soft. I mean, I don't even know if it's doing all that much. And then this pad, this is actually technically pad 3. Kind of like a high pad. So you get your low, mid, and high. This Omnisphere pad was only here for this other section, so I'm not really using that. So the sub pad sits underneath. The choir does a lot. I really like the choirs in Omnisphere. You can kind of hear the ah. And that is being filtered in and out as well. You can kind of see it. And with the strings, and more strings. This was some strings from the Nexus Hollywood library, I believe. Just kind of like a cello. really like the sound of the cello. The cello is kind of like, it has a very similar vocal, like range to a vocalist. So the cello, I like, sometimes what we like to do is we get these string patches, which are these big multis that don't take a lot of CPU. And then we get one really detailed sound to sit on top of it to kind of have that articulation. It's kind of a cheat or a hack. So once again, I'm using these full strings from Omnisphere, which sound really, really good. Don't get me wrong. I think this is like the Adagio string patch in Omnisphere. And then on top of that is just like a cello, kind of helps bring it out. And then the piano. And I got these bass stabs from Nexus. Really basic. This is the guitar, the tiny amp, just to give it a little bit of rhythm. And then one of the things I added, I guess I kind of went with the sort of bum 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 bum, the Lindrum clap on with the echo. I didn't have that originally, but the idea was to bring it more. And actually, I sent this track with actually twice the breakdown that this one has, and the people at the label got back to me. They're like, the breakdown is too fucking long. You got to shorten it. I'm like, okay. I was a little disappointed, but they were right. You know, this is like, I don't know. You can check the selection here. It was like, yeah, like pretty much like 2 minutes, over 2 minutes, or almost 2 minutes of just like straight up no beat or anything. So I get where they're coming from. As much as I would have liked to go crazy, and I love the orchestral stuff like Sound Apparel, all these guys. For a dance floor, it's just too much, I think, you know, especially with us and our short attention spans these days. So that's the decision I had to make with that. So yeah, I got the bird atmospheres, got all sorts of these atmospheres running around. Really here in the breakdown, that's the time we have a lot of them. So you can hear. And then everything closes up here for the leads to kick in. You can hear everything filtering out. So that's really the really nice part. I want that to be the sort of goosebumpsy part. Build everything up, open the filter, open the drop, and then everything like that. So now what I want to do is move on to talk about the kick and the bass. So what I've really done here is kept things pretty basic. Kick drum. Kick and sub. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Not using our bass on here at all. I use this L3. What this L3 is designed to do is just keep all the notes the same. I used to go in and automate each note, but this just means when the notes are changing, you can see it sometimes attenuates it, sometimes doesn't. So that just really helps. And then I guess I have more EQ on there. I don't know why I did that. That almost seems like a mistake, but we're just going to ignore that for now. Then we get to our mid basses. Now I use my little uplift bassline arpeggio thingy for these guys, and I was starting to have some problems with it. So I don't use that too much. I do like it. I mean, my little Max for Live device, you can check that out. But I like being able to have more control to change things. So I use it sometimes, but not all the time. Or I'll start by using it to get an idea and then really change it up. So this would be mid bass number 1. Very FM-y kind of sound. And it's this Noveltech character that's really doing a lot of work to bring out the sort of mids and highs. Here's mid bass 2. Spire sound. And then Serum. That's the really gritty bass that I really like using all the time. So together with the kick. And then I have this sort of bassline loop. But with this, what I needed to do with this, I'm not just using this straight up. I have all sorts of stuff going on. So one thing I'm doing, moving that around. Noveltech character on there too. Let's see without all this stuff. So a lot more boring without some movement. So trying to give it automation, even though I am using part of a loop, chopping up this loop and using it, I'm trying to do it in an interesting, fun, exciting kind of way, and then filtering it around. And then got this omnisphere atmosphere playing too. You can barely even hear it, but what's doing a lot of work here are these soundscapes, these vocal atmospheres. You can hear this one, this. And I really spent a lot of time here on these acids. So this first one, you can kind of hear it doing some mid-side EQing. Then this one comes in at the end. What's doing a lot of work here is like there's delay there on the synth. And then this guy, I really like this dude. This is like just kind of some shots, some one-shots. So it's not playing the same thing. I'm kind of shooting it every once in a while. So they're kind of talking to each other. That was kind of the vibe I wanted to get. They're like this wall of sound. So this is just taken with another synth and using filter automation on the cutoff. So you can see with this one, I just kind of found where the notes sounded good. I mean, you really just kind of have to do it to feel it out. I might have even hit record and pressed a button on the keyboard. That's just this one. And then I got this rolling guy sitting underneath it. Spire patch, I believe. Yep. So the whole group. So hearing this with the kick and bass. And then this pluck comes in every once in a while. Teasing the melody. Really trying to like give them a preview of what's coming. Lots of effects. I don't even probably need to talk about all these effects. Just standard stuff. Sweeps, risers, all sorts of stuff. Then I got this little break. And you hear that sound, that is, I believe, the flanger I have here on the master, which I only turn up, here it is, audio effect rack, the flanger mix. So that's what I'm doing here. You can see the flanger mix, it comes up. So that kind of weird flangery sound, that's how you get that kind of build in. And it's fun to do that every once in a while. I do it over here too. I'm surprised I don't do that up here before the drop. I guess I think I wanted the focus to be on the melody, and sometimes you can have too many things going on. So I believe that's why I didn't, you know, like right before the drop didn't do it. Yeah, it just doesn't need it. I'm sure I'd try doing something like that, and just, it's better if it's just simple. And then I have this little section after the drop, which I wanted to do kind of an acidy break. So here I'm filtering in the bass lines. So these guys are kind of calling and responding. To the point I just took out the fills and stuff from there. I mean, I just didn't need them. I mean, over here, they sound pretty good. Snare roll. And just a ton of delay on it. kind of to fill in that spot. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention. So I brought the choir back for the second half of the drop, and then to make this a little more interesting, I have this these sets of sounds that are playing a counter melody during the second half of the drop. One of them is from VPS Avenger, and I really like tweaked the hell out of this. It was like, I don't even know where I got this preset from, but pretty much built my own sound. And this other one was actually from my Synthmaster demo from Synthmaster 1. You can find that preset somewhere around there. If you guys want it, I can provide the Synthmaster preset here if you're users of Synthmaster. Just layered together. Here's the Vengeance. And here's the key that I'm using. So together. Ah, some damn good reverb on there. It's the Arts Acoustic. So what this is doing is this is also doing a call and response off the main melody. If I can find where this is. Yeah, let me just get my pluck here. And here's the counter melody too. And I fake them out. That's where you'd expect it to end. And then this is that sort of, I guess it would be, is that 8 bars? Yeah, I guess like an 8-bar bridge. And then really giving them that kind of time to dance. And you can see with this bass line, with the bass line MIDI, I'm kind of having some fun with it. I'm not just playing it straight. And then same with this top one. So together they kind of do a call and response, and then you got this guy too. So together. And one of the other things you hear as well with all the percussion, which I didn't really do anything all that interesting. I don't want to say didn't do anything interesting, but I didn't want to focus too much on the percussion. Really chopped up quite a few loops and things and made some stuff. But these on-beat rides, usually I use those on the off-beat, like over here. This is my little Max for Live Simplicity, which has an AHDSR envelope. So I made this in Max for Live for these sorts of things. Really like that plugin as well. I used Neutron 3 as a kind of like a transient shaper there on the clap, but I now have Neutron 4, and this is a computer I had to wipe, so I no longer have Neutron 3 on here. Oh well, you kind of get the idea. And then closed hats, pretty straightforward. Using the auto pan to kind of bounce it around a little bit. So here I used Vice, the VST Vice, to chop up some percussion loops and make these percussion loops, and then just froze and flattened them for this project. And then I got another loop over here as well. with a flanger on top to just add some movement and make it really interesting. So that's what that sounds like. So anyway, yeah, that's pretty much the track. Once again, lots of these vocal atmospheres, lots of the stuff that just takes a long time, the fine tuning, really getting the melodies right, really getting them to play off of each other, really getting the mix right. But then from there, you know, once you get the basic structure, once you get the first thing is get the melody down. Then once I got the melody down, started structuring the track, fine tuning, really getting it to a place I wanted it to be and was happy with. So once again, if you like this track, you want to hear it, go ahead and check it out on Beatport. And if you guys have questions, I'll be trying to answer them as best I can there in the comments. But thanks for watching, and have a good one.